Okay, so now we're just going to look at manipulating the simple interest formula. More so, what we're actually going to do is look at how to then use that formula if we're not finding interest, if we're given the interest, and we're trying to find either principal, rate, or time. Okay, so very easy. We're just going to use simple algebraic steps. And I'm sure you will remember these from other ones. So let's start with the first example. So I've got two examples here. So example one, we're going to find the principal invested if $307 of simple interest was received after 2 years of being invested at a rate of 5% per annum. So first of all, my interest is $307 of simple interest. So I know my interest is $307. My principal is unknown. That's what I need to find. My rate, 5%. And my time, 2 years. So I just need to make sure that I identify all of that information first, and then from there I can go. So I still start with writing my formula. I equals PRT over 100. Okay, so that's step one. That's my K1. My step two is still to sub in what I know. So I sub in what I know. I know that interest is 307. The principal is just going to stay P because I don't know. And then my rate is 5, and my time is 2, and it's still over 100. So I guess my next step, I'll just do the 5 times 2 because that, I'm just going to do all of it so that you see each step. So 5 2s are 10 over 100. Okay. So next, what I'm going to do is I need to get P on its own, okay? In order to do that, I need to start moving these things, the 10 and the 100, to the other side of the equal sign to leave P on its own. So what I want is P on one side of the equals and what it equals on the other. So I need to move everything around. Now, when I take something from one side and put it to the other, I need to do the inverse. So if I am, for example, here, I am dividing by 100, and that's the last thing I did. I started with P, I multiplied P by 10, then I divided by 100. So I need to go backwards. When I build an equation, I need to go backwards from that. So dividing by 100 is the last thing I did. I need to times by 100 on both sides. If I multiply by 100 here, if I divide by 100 then multiply by 100, it cancels that out. So it gets rid of that. So on this side, it'll stay P times 10. But if I divide by 100, times by 100 on both sides, that means that over here, this is going to be 307 times 100. Okay? So I end up with, okay, now that I've actually sort of written that in, I can actually multiply it by 100 and write that. This is how I communicate what I've done. So that's 30700, okay? 30,700. Okay, I still don't have P on its own. I've still got this multiplied by 10. So if I'm multiplying by 10, the inverse of that is to divide by 10. So that if I divide by 10 here, that cancels that out, leaves me with P. And that just means I need to divide this number, 30,700, divided by 10. So that just crosses off one of those zeros, 3070. So, therefore, and that's it. Now I've got P and an amount that it equals. So the initial investment, yeah, it is an investment. Running short on pen. Okay, and it was $3,070. Yep. So not really any different. You just have to remember the flipping over so that you can get the P as the subject of the equation. Okay, so this side, we've got Paula investing $37,000 in a term deposit. So we want to have a look at what percentage interest rate is required so that she could grow her investment to $50,000 in 4 years. So we want our answer correct to 2 decimal places. Now this one has a little bit extra in it. Okay, so let's identify the information we got. Invest $37,000. So the principal, $37,000. Percentage interest rate, dunno. Yeah, that's our unknown. we want it to grow to 50,000, but that's her whole investment. That's her total amount is going to be 50,000. And it's going to be in 4 years. So, first of all, we need to have a look at identifying interest, because that's the one that we don't have. Now, if we're going to find an unknown, just like in this one, we only want one of them to be unknown, but we can find interest. The interest is going to be equal to the total amount minus the principal, what she put in the first place. So she put 37,000 in. Her return is going to be the difference between the 50,000 that she got, that includes the principal. Okay, so she gets back her original investment plus all of the interest that she's made. So her total amount is 50,000, and we're going to take 37,000. So she has 13,000 in interest. Okay, so that's not bad. That's the first step. You've got to know to, and this is why actually identifying all of those variables from the formula first is a really good idea. It means you know exactly what you're looking for, and you can make sure that you have all of the rest of the information that you need, and if you don't, that you can work it out. Okay, so from there, we can go slightly over here. We can start working out our amount. So we start with our I equals PRT, and then we sub in. So our interest is 13,000. Our principal, 37,000. Our rate is unknown, so we leave it as R. Our time is 4, and over 100. Okay, not too bad so far. Next, we need to start looking at what we can do here. So, because we can sort of work in any order here, what I'm going to do, basically, is I'm going to start by doing our 100 again. So our divide by 100, because it's the last thing, yeah? R times 4 times 37,000. Remember, you can multiply in any order at all. Okay, so 6 times 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 6 times 2, and it's the same as 2 times 6 times 3, and 2 times 3 times 6, all the same. You'll get the same answer. So all of these numbers together, it doesn't matter what order we multiply them in, it's going to be the same. So if I start at R, multiply by 4 and by 37,000, either way, the last thing I've done though is divide by 100. So I need to do the opposite. I'm going to multiply by 100 on both sides. Let's just do that so that you can see this is where this one stops. Just running out a little bit of room there. Okay, so if I multiply by 100 on both sides, that gets rid of this one here. So I'm down to 37,000 times R times 4. But on this side, I've multiplied by 100. So I need to add 2 more zeros. There we go. Now I need to start working with this stuff to get rid of these two. So basically 37,000 and 4, I can multiply those two together, yeah? I probably should have actually done that. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this ends up being R times 148,000. This one's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But what we're going to do now is, because we're multiplying by this, we're going to divide on the both sides. 148,000. That will cancel this out and leave R on its own. And over here, it just means we're going to divide by 148,000. When we do that, we end up with 8.7837, and it continues. So it does tell us up here that we can round to 2 decimal places. Now, once I've done this, what's on each side doesn't matter, as long as if I swap them around. So if you're more comfortable with the R being on this side, you can do that, as long as everything on this side comes over here and everything on this side comes over here, just to rewrite. And equals is like a balancing point. This side is equal to this side. So if I spin it around this way, it's still this side equal to this side. And it says to round to 2, so 8.78. So my 3 is the one that tells me what to do. 3 is less than 5, so I keep it the same. Therefore, the interest rate required is 8.78% per annum. Now, when you actually write those informed statements at the end, you really should be making sure that you take the question into account. So for instance, to write that one properly, I really should have written, it's asked me what percentage is required for Paula to grow her investment in the 4 years. So it should say, Paula requires an interest rate of 8.78% per annum to grow her investment to $50,000 over 4 years. So if I actually use the wording from the question, the part that's telling me what to do, it means I actually make sure I've included everything in my answer. And it really is a good idea to underline those answers, to really highlight, and it reminds me that I need to have dollar signs, percentage, I need to have some sort of terminology along with it. Okay, so make sure that you look back over and are okay with manipulating the formula. Make sure you have written down any questions you have or anything that you're not sure about with that process so that you can check with me in class.